I've always really wanted to try and make a difference to people's lives and tackle injustice and help where I can. So firstly, I was involved in general personal injury work and industrial disease and acting for people who were dying of cancer. That was a really rewarding job to do to help those people. Then an opportunity came along to go into the abuse team and assist victims and survivors of abuse, and I just jumped at the opportunity because I knew that it was the next step in trying to assist people who'd suffered some of the worst types of injustice in our society and trying to help them seek redress for that injustice.
The first part of the process is understanding what's happened to you, and we can take as long as you need to talk that through so that we have a proper understanding of it. The next part of the process is document gathering, getting police records, medical records, any records that are relevant to what you've been through. The next part of the process then is getting independent medical evidence so that we can understand the impact on you of the abuse that you've suffered. Once we've built up that body of evidence, we then look to see whether we can negotiate a settlement with the other side or whether we need to go to court.
Well, I'm a civil lawyer, so we deal in civil cases for compensation for abuse victims and survivors. We only act for victims and survivors of abuse, and I deal with various different claims against organisations and institutions such as the Scout Association, religious organisations, local authorities, schools, hospitals, doctors. So it's a very varied caseload. Anyone who's suffered abuse or assault, if we can help them, we'll try and help them.
I believe that any sort of child abuse is wrong, it's harmful, it's damaging. And I believe that by taking cases and by getting accountability from institutions and from abusers, we can do two things. We can get justice for individual survivors, but we can also bring about change to protect children in the future. So for me, it's about two things. It's about individual justice for individual survivors, but it's also about securing change to protect children in the future.
I think the key to the success of helping victims and survivors of abuse is experience. So we have a highly experienced team with many decades of experience in helping victims and survivors of abuse achieve compensation and redress for what's happened to them. So we can be with them every step of the way and give them highly specialised advice on their individual case and what they need to do as an individual to win that case. As part of the case, wherever we can, we always claim back the costs of any private therapy or treatment, both past, present and future, to ensure that that victim and survivor has that bespoke medical treatment, counselling and therapy that they need to help try and rebuild their lives if their claim is successful.
The most important thing is to speak to a specialist lawyer, somebody who's done these cases, who knows how to do these cases. That's crucial. You need that expertise to be able to do these cases well, so find a specialist lawyer is my advice first and foremost.
It is a really challenging area of law to work within. It's really important that we do as little as possible to re-traumatise the victim or survivor, and so dealing with our clients empathetically and sensitively is absolutely vital. Sometimes there can be ongoing police investigations, so we have to bear that in mind, and that can potentially delay getting access to records. There are time limits that we have to bear in mind, so that can also be a challenge that we need to overcome, although there are ways of doing that, and we are successful in doing that in lots of cases. And we also, in cases against organisations and institutions, have to make sure that we've got a legal basis for the claim against that organisation or institution, and that's what we can offer our specialist legal advice on, because that's what we're specialist in doing in terms of advising the client on the law that applies to their individual factual situation and a way through for them to get the redress that they deserve.
Well, the law does have time limits for claims, but sometimes those time limits can be set aside if it's possible for the court to look at the issues fairly and if the survivor has good reason for delay. So it's always really important to get specialist legal advice about that. Never assume that your case is out of time. Always get specialist legal advice. I recently achieved a settlement against the Church of England on behalf of a man in his 50s who suffered serious abuse from his local vicar when he was a child. The settlement was several £100,000, and it means that as he goes towards retirement, my client will be able to access proper treatment and also have some financial cushion as he goes into retirement. That's really important. We were able to get a good outcome for him.
Just want to say that we fully understand how daunting it must feel to think about contacting a legal advisor for advice on being abused or assaulted, and we do not underestimate the courage that making contact with a legal advisor takes, but we just want to reassure you that we are here for you. We're specialists in this area of law, and we will work with you to make sure that any contact you have with us goes as smoothly as possible and that you feel as comfortable as you can telling us about your story, and hopefully we can help you resolve the situation and get you the redress and justice that you deserve.